Interesting stuff from Arteta, of course. Clearly, that criticism after his starting 11 against City has got to him a little bit, feeling that he has to cite that people have been on his phone blowing it up to congratulate him on his tactics.
Yeah, well, I think he's being a little bit oversensitive. I think it's a valid debate. I mean, it has been, I think, for a season or two, about whether Arsenal are ambitious enough in the bigger games. I think that was a criticism levelled at them at Anfield against Liverpool. And I think he was right on the day. They didn't go for it enough until they went behind late to that great Szoboszlai free kick on that game. And against Manchester City, you did defend brilliantly, I thought, in that game, which we haven't said a lot about Manchester City in the last year. I mean, there was a debate. He didn't play Eze. He didn't play Martinelli, who'd come on and done really well. He preferred Trossard on the left. And it was only when those players got involved that they conjured up that magical equaliser in stoppage time. So, look, people are going to carry on debating it, whether Mikel Arteta likes it or not.
Could be another documentary here with light bulbs and all that, isn't it?
Yeah, I know.
I was on his phone. That's what he was on his phone because that's how people contact you.
Yep.
I mean, presidents and CEOs and managers and coaches of all these busy conglomerates around the world. They've got all the time in the day to phone somebody up who's just drawn with Man City at home. I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? Drawn with Man City at home. Tottenham have beaten them. Brighton have beaten them. I mean, this is the Man City that are untouchable these days. This is the Man City that lost, what, did they lose 8 straight last year when they fell off the cliff, went for the parachute and it wasn't on? They couldn't win a game. Could not win a game. Dropped, at one point, they weren't even going to get in the top 5. We were sitting here discussing it. Man City might not get in the top 5. They might not be in the Champions League. They did in the end, but that's how bad they were. They've drawn with them at home, and every Tom, Dick and Harry from around the world is phoning them on his phone, by the way. It's incredible. Here's a guy, and he talks about, you know, the results this club have had. He's won an FA Cup in his time there. That's what he's won. He's improved the squad, or the club have. He's got a perfect squad now, near perfect. He's got a very, very strong outfit to go to the bench. He's got quality all over. They've spent a fortune. They keep finishing second. Now he has to get them over the line. And any thought about anybody criticising him is irking him. And that's telling me he knows the pressure he is under. He's got his striker. He's got his backup in the wide positions. He got Zubimendi. He's got a back four that most people in European football would die for. Absolutely rock solid. But yet, he was cautious in that game at home against a team that many people don't think will get back to the summit. Right? This wasn't Man City in their pomp of 3 or 4 years ago that when they rolled in and got off the bus, everybody was quaking in their boots. This is not that Man City. This is the Man City that most teams in the Premier League can get at. And we've seen it already this season on 2 occasions. They can be got at and they can be beaten. And Arsenal failed to do that. With all that pressure and all that possession, they failed because he had, for the most part of the game, the wrong personnel in the wrong areas to get the job done. That's a fact. And he can sit there and bumble away all he wants, like David Brent from The Office. But the point is, he was too cautious against a Man City side that did defend well. As Ian said, I'll give you that. They did defend well. But if you do the right things in the right areas in the final third against that back four, they had Kushinov at right back, who's a centre back. They had Nico Riley at left back, who's a midfielder. And yet Arsenal were cautious with the 3 midfielders, as he should have played. That's, in my opinion, I think in most, he could have played in that number 10 role. He did not until late in the game, and he was the difference with that ball over the top.
Why do you feel he had the need to share this, Shane?
I'll just double down on what Craig said. I think it's pressure. It's about the pressure. That
I think so.
Without question. Listen, I think while he's felt that pressure for many seasons gone, I think now it's been turned up because they've gotten that piece that everybody said they'd been missing in Gyökeres. Everybody said they'd been missing. Now all of a sudden, as Ian mentioned, you lose to Liverpool, and now the discussion around this City result, if not result, Sydney performance is, did Arsenal pin City back, or did City play that way by design, to hurt Arsenal on the counter-attack. Now, given that Arsenal scored in 93rd minute or whatever it was, I'm more feeling, and kind of looking at how the game progressed, I'm more feeling that all of a sudden Pep Guardiola played in a way that nobody expected. He sat deep, he defended well, he used Doku and Haaland to very good effect, and Arsenal just weren't able to solve that conundrum, or certainly break them down because they didn't have the creativity on the park, because they were expecting to be pinned back a little bit more. So if you look at it from that perspective, you think Pep outcoached Arteta on the day. Whilst Arteta now is feeling that pressure, maybe seeing that, maybe hearing some of that criticism, given that he's now got all the pieces to his puzzle, this is his only defense of, well, what was an all right result. Could have been a whole lot worse, but it's certainly not great by any measure.
Now, what does he do? What is he? He's put more pressure on himself because he has one of the big games of the Premier League season at the weekend. Newcastle, away from home. And if you watch the Champions League game with Barcelona at St James's Park, who you could consider in the top 2 or 3 teams in European football at the moment, and you saw how Newcastle, particularly in the first half, put them under pressure, then they can do it to Arsenal. So what does he do? Because you might think, well, I go to Newcastle, maybe that's when I would have a bit more of a cautious approach.
Yes.
Away from home, take the sting out of the game, then bring the flair players on. But is he now double thinking and overthinking it, and all these? What are the chief executive officers telling him to do at the weekend? I don't know. Does he go up there and is he sort of pressured into change? Do you think the press are going to be on to me? What are the pundits going to say if I go with? I need to play Eze, I need to play him, I need to get Saka into the team. What is he going to do in this Newcastle game? Because if he goes to St James's Park, and it's well possible you can go up there and get beaten, because I know it's not perfect for them losing Isak, but they're a good side. And they're at home, and that crowd behind them. He needs some sort of result. Not because the draw against Man City at home was terrible, but because he came out and tried to say, you guys, you've no idea what you're talking about. I'm the only one that knows what I'm doing, and don't even question me. So he really needs to get a big result on Sunday.
Pressure is a word that both Craig and Shaka have used, Ian. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think he is under pressure because they've been runners-up 3 times in a row now. And as the guys have been saying, he's had the money, he's strengthened the team in all the right areas. So it's green for go, or it should be green for going. Craig's right, that is a bit of an acid test game at Newcastle at the weekend. They've got a great defence, best defence in the league. It was last season. I think it will be again this season. But, one thing that happened in that game, with Gyökeres, I don't think he had a chance in the game. They weren't creating any chances. They never looked like scoring against Manchester City until they did in the 93rd minute, whatever it was. So that's a bit of an issue. But I think you have to cut Arteta a little bit of slack still, because it's still pretty early days and he's still getting this new team to gel and maybe still working out what he thinks is the best lineup. And the best lineup, I think everybody agrees, is that Eze has to play as a number 10, not stuck out wide on the left touchline as he was for a game or 2 earlier on.
Well, they'll need to work it out quick, won't he? Because Liverpool are winning every game and City have started.
That's it. How much of a head start do you want to give?
And look, Ian talked about cutting them some slack there, and he has been cut a bit of slack in the last couple of seasons where they did put up some sort of title fight, which fell away. And whilst it fell away, and City were strong one year, Liverpool were strong last year, you could put the argument up and say, well, Kai Havertz, we've discussed him, he's not really a number 9, and they need that player, or they, bringing Raheem Sterling in to back up Saka, that's never going to work. So you could find maybe an excuse there. And I think one of the issues that he has, looking from the outside now as a manager, is if the results are not there, and again, as Ian said, it is very early. But when all this is coming together at the end of the season, if they're not right in it to win it, people are going to say, well, you got your number 9. You got all the backup players to the wide position. You got your extra midfielder in that you wanted. So there is really no excuses now. And if it comes to a point where they're not getting the results, the discussion's going to turn from can Arsenal win the league to can Arsenal win the league with Mikel Arteta. And that takes the focus from the squad onto the manager.
Liverpool will be fuming after hearing what Arsenal have just done. David Ornstein broke news on Thursday morning that William Saliba has agreed to a new 5-year contract at Arsenal. The Frenchman will commit his future to Arteta'S project, signing a lucrative new deal that will see him remain in N5 until 2030. Saliba has been heavily linked with Real Madrid in the past 6 or 7 months, with many reports indicating that Los Blancos were prepared to wait until his contract expired before snapping the defender up for free. The Spanish Giants now no longer have this option available to them, and they're unlikely to be willing to pay the Gunners' excessive asking price for Saliba anytime soon. Instead, they may well look elsewhere in their pursuit of a long-term partner for Dean Huijsen at the heart of their defense. Ibrahima Konate may now become Xabi Alonso's primary center-back target. The France international's deal at Anfield expires next summer, and there's little indication that he's prepared to agree to fresh terms. Thus, if Real Madrid want Konate, there's little stopping them from luring him to the Bernabeu. If Saliba hadn't agreed a new deal with Arsenal, it's possible that the La Liga club would have been willing to wait until 2027 to sign their new marquee center-back. But now this is no longer an option. They'll likely move for Konate. Liverpool will therefore not be happy about Andrea Berta's contract negotiations with Saliba progressing significantly. And that wraps up today's biggest Arsenal news. If you enjoyed the update and want to stay on top of everything happening with the Gunners, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Come on, Arsenal!